Arsenal Daily Talk. Nicolas Jover, the secret weapon Arsenal won't let you hear from. Hello Gunners fans, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily Talk. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories coming out of the Emirates, and it is all about the man who might just be more feared by our opponents than Mikel Arteta himself. Yes, you heard that right. We are talking about Nicolas Jover, Arsenal's set-piece coach extraordinaire. Now, before we get into the main story, let me ask you something. When you think about what makes Arsenal so dangerous right now, what comes to mind? Is it our attack? Our defense? Our midfield? Well, according to this report, there is one area where we are absolutely untouchable, and that is set pieces. And the man behind this dominance has just been banned by Arsenal from doing something that Mikel Arteta does multiple times every single week. Let me start from the beginning because this story is absolutely incredible. Nicolas Jover joined Arsenal back in 2021 when his contract at Manchester City expired. Now think about that for a second. We took a coach from Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, and it turns out this might be one of the most underrated signings we have made in recent years. The article mentions that Pep Guardiola might have been more reluctant to let him go if he could have seen into the future. And honestly, can you blame him for potentially having regrets? Look at what Jover has done for us. Arsenal's set-piece superiority has become so dominant that Mikel Arteta has even been compared to Tony Pulis. Now, for those who might not remember, Tony Pulis was known for his direct, physical style of play with a heavy emphasis on set pieces. But the article makes it very clear that while Arteta gets some of the credit, the real mastermind behind our set-piece success is Nicolas Jover himself. So here is where things get really interesting. According to this report, Arsenal have scored 25 goals from set pieces in the 2025-26 season. Let me repeat that. 25 goals. That is absolutely mind-blowing. The article includes a graphic showing just how far ahead we are from everyone else, and honestly, no other team can even come close to matching what we are doing from set-play situations, particularly corners. Now, here is the big news that this whole story is built around. Arsenal have made a bold decision about Nicolas Jover. The club has decided not to let him take part in interviews. Think about that. While Mikel Arteta does media duties multiple times a week, answering questions from journalists, appearing on television, doing press conferences, Nicolas Jover will not be doing the same anytime soon. The reasoning behind this decision is fascinating. Arsenal want to keep their secret weapon well and truly secret. They are aware that people want to hear from him. Fans are desperate to know more about his methods and tactics. Opposition teams would love to get inside his head. But Arsenal have essentially put a media blackout on the man, protecting the secrets behind our set-piece dominance. This news was broken by reporter Anita Neca-Jones from CBS Sports. She revealed this information after Arsenal's win over Inter Milan in the Champions League. According to Jones, many Arsenal fans want to hear from the man, the mastermind behind 25 Arsenal goals from set pieces this season. She confirmed that Arsenal got another set-piece goal in the Inter Milan game, rightly being called the set-piece kings. But she then dropped the bombshell that Arsenal are not letting Jover do interviews because they are aware that people want to hear from him and that he is a secret weapon. Unfortunately, she said, he is not going to be revealed to the public. The article makes it clear that Arsenal want to keep the man behind their greatest strength under wraps, and frankly, it makes complete sense from a strategic perspective. Why would you want to give your opponents any insight into how you are achieving this incredible success? But Nicolas Jover has not just used set-piece goals to unsettle Arsenal's rivals. There is more to this story, and it gets even better. Cast your mind back to 2023. Arsenal played Manchester City, and we won. After the match, something interesting happened. Kyle Walker, the Manchester City and former Arsenal defender, got involved in a post-match argument with Nicolas Jover. According to the report, Jover went to shake Walker's hand, which was rejected. Walker then wanted to take his interaction with the Arsenal coach even further. After tempers flared between them, Pep Guardiola was asked about the situation after his side's defeat. Guardiola's response was telling. He said, and I quote, "I know what happened, but I do not want to say anything. They, meaning Arsenal, know it." That was all he would say about it. He was being coy, keeping things close to his chest, but you could tell there was clearly something that had gotten under Manchester City's skin. The article poses a great question. It must be wondered what Manchester City are thinking right now. looking at the coach they used to have transformed their Premier League title rivals into a different beast. Can you imagine how frustrating that must be? You let a coach leave, thinking maybe he was not that important, and then he goes to your biggest rival and helps make them absolutely unstoppable in one crucial area of the game. The article ends with a brilliant line. If we were Manchester City, we would not want to see Jover either, as the Frenchman continues to separate Arsenal from the rest. And that really sums it all up, does it not? Now, let me share with you what rival managers have been saying about Arsenal set pieces, because this is where you really understand just how much respect and fear Nicolas Jover has earned across football. Vincent Kompany, speaking in November 2025, said something really insightful. He talked about how difficult it is to prepare to defend set pieces against Arsenal. He said, "We have got every other aspect of the game as well, but set pieces are something that we master more than anybody else." Coming from a manager and former player of Kompany's caliber, that is high praise indeed. Thomas Frank from Brentford was even more direct back in December 2024. He said, and these are his exact words, "Arsenal is the best set-piece team not only in the Premier League but in the world right now." The world. Not just England. Not just Europe. The entire world. That is the level Nicolas Jover has taken us to. And here is the kicker. Pep Guardiola himself, in September 2025, acknowledged Jover's impact. He said Arsenal have set pieces with Nico, who was here, meaning at Manchester City, and that in every department they know the quality Arsenal have. Even Pep, one of the greatest managers in football history, is openly admitting that the coach he let leave is now causing him problems. Ruben Amorim also weighed in back in August 2025. He noted that Arsenal are very good because they have a lot of time working on set pieces. He mentioned that Arsenal have big players for that, so it is a strategy. What is interesting about Amorim's comment is that he recognizes this is not just about having tall players. It is about the time invested, the coaching, the strategy. That is all Nicolas Jover's influence. So let me break down why this story matters so much to us as Arsenal fans. First, it shows that Arsenal are thinking strategically not just on the pitch but off it as well. By keeping Jover away from interviews, they are protecting a competitive advantage. In modern football, where every team analyzes every other team down to the smallest detail, keeping your method secret is incredibly valuable. If Jover started doing interviews and explaining his thought process, his tactics, his training methods, you can bet that every other team in the league would be taking notes and trying to copy what we do. Second, it highlights just how important set pieces have become to our success. 25 goals from set pieces in one season is extraordinary. To put that in perspective, some teams do not score 25 goals from open play in an entire season. We are getting that many just from corners, free kicks, and throw-ins. That is not luck. That is not just about having tall players. That is coaching excellence, and it gives us a massive advantage. Third, it shows that we have learned from our mistakes. Remember when we used to be criticized for not being physical enough? For not being able to compete in the air? For lacking a plan B? Well, those criticisms do not apply anymore. We have turned what was once a weakness into our greatest strength, and that transformation is down to Nicolas Jover. Fourth, and this might be the most satisfying part for Arsenal fans, we took someone from Manchester City and used them to become better than Manchester City in a specific area of the game. That Kyle Walker incident tells you everything you need to know. They are frustrated. They know what we have got. They know where we got it from. And there is nothing they can do about it. The article also mentions that Arsenal fans are showing their appreciation for Jover in interesting ways. One fan comment asked how big do you want the statue to be, which is obviously tongue-in-cheek but shows the level of appreciation fans have for what he has done. Another fan said they might get Jover on the back of their next shirt at this rate. That is the kind of recognition usually reserved for star players, not coaches. But that is how important Nicolas Jover has become to Arsenal Football Club. What I find particularly interesting is the timing of this interview ban decision. Arsenal are flying right now. We are competing on multiple fronts. We are being talked about as genuine title contenders. Our set-piece record is better than anyone else in Europe. So why would Arsenal choose this moment to essentially hide Nicolas Jover away from the media? I think the answer is simple. They know that success breeds attention. They know that everyone wants to know the secret. Opposition managers, coaches, analysts, they are all desperate to figure out how we are doing what we are doing. And the easiest way to protect that information is to make sure the man with all the answers never has to give them publicly. Think about it from a tactical perspective. Every time a manager or coach does an interview, they give away little details about their thinking, their philosophy, their methods. Even if they are trying to be careful, even if they are being deliberately vague, smart analysts can pick up on hints and clues. By keeping Jover completely away from the media, Arsenal eliminate that risk entirely. It also sends a message to the rest of the football world. It says we know what we have got, we know how valuable it is, and we are going to protect it at all costs. That is smart business. That is smart football management. That is the kind of thinking that separates clubs who compete for trophies from clubs who just make up the numbers. And let us not forget the human element here. Nicolas Jover joined Arsenal in 2021. That is several years of building relationships with players, understanding their strengths, developing specific routines and patterns. You cannot just copy that overnight. Even if another team hired a brilliant set-piece coach tomorrow, it would take years to build the kind of understanding and execution that we have developed. The article describes Jover as Arsenal's secret weapon, and that description is absolutely perfect. In football, everyone can see the goals. Everyone can see the results. But understanding how those results are achieved, that is the secret. And Arsenal are determined to keep it that way. So what does this mean going forward? Well, it means we can expect Arsenal to continue dominating from set pieces. It means opposition teams are going to have to find ways to deal with us without getting any help or insight from the man himself. It means Mikel Arteta will continue to be the public face of Arsenal while Jover works his magic behind the scenes. And honestly, I think that is exactly how it should be. Not everyone needs to be in the spotlight. Not everyone needs to do interviews and press conferences. Sometimes the most important work happens away from the cameras, away from the microphones, away from the attention. Nicolas Jover is proving that you can be absolutely crucial to a team's success without ever saying a word to the media. As Arsenal fans, we should be excited about this news. It shows ambition. It shows intelligence. It shows that our club is thinking about every possible way to gain and maintain an advantage over our rivals. And when you are scoring 25 goals from set pieces in a single season, you are clearly doing something very, very right. So here is to Nicolas Jover, the man Arsenal won't let you hear from, but the man whose impact you can see every single time we win a corner or a free kick in a dangerous position. He might not give interviews, but his work speaks louder than any words ever could. That is all for today's Arsenal Daily Talk. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about Arsenal's decision to keep Nicolas Jover away from interviews. Is it smart strategy, or are you disappointed that we cannot hear from him directly? I will see you in the next one. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal Daily Talk. Victor Gyökeres finally breaking through against Inter Milan. Hello Arsenal family and welcome back to Arsenal Daily Talk. Today we are diving deep into one of the most significant moments of Arsenal's Champions League campaign. Victor Gyökeres finally got the goal that everyone has been waiting for, and the relief was visible not just on his face, but across the entire Arsenal community. Let me take you through what happened at the San Siro and why this goal means so much more than just 3 points in the Champions League. The moment of relief at San Siro. Picture this scene. Arsenal are already 3 goals to 1 up against Inter Milan at the iconic San Siro Stadium. Victor Gyökeres receives the ball 25 yards out from goal. What happens next is something special. The Swedish striker unleashes an absolute curler into the top corner. As the ball hits the back of the net, Gyökeres lets out a scream. But this was not a scream of celebration. This was a scream of pure relief. You could see it in his body language. You could hear it in that primal scream. This was a player who has been carrying the weight of enormous expectations on his shoulders. This was a player who desperately needed to find the back of the net. And in that moment at San Siro, something shifted for Victor Gyökeres. Arsenal fans watching around the world would have taken a goal of any manner from their new striker. A tap-in, a penalty, a deflection, anything to get his numbers up and silence some of the critics. But Gyökeres did not just score any goal. He scored an absolute screamer. A 25-yard curler into the top corner is not the work of a player lacking confidence. It is the work of a striker who still believes in his ability even when the noise around him has been negative. The pressure of wearing number 14. Now let me talk about the significance of that shirt number. Victor Gyökeres wears the number 14 for Arsenal. If you are an Arsenal fan, you know exactly what that number means. That was Thierry Henry's number. The greatest striker in Arsenal's history. A club legend. An icon. A player who defined an entire era of dominance for the Gunners. When Gyökeres agreed to take that shirt number, he knew what he was signing up for. He knew the comparisons would come. He knew the expectations would be sky high. And he knew that every goal drought would be magnified because of the legendary player who wore that number before him. So when you see Gyökeres score a beautiful goal at a historic stadium like San Siro, wearing that number 14 on his back, it feels fitting. It feels like the kind of moment that can define a player's journey at a club. The 27-year-old summer signing needed this moment. He needed to show Arsenal fans that he can produce moments of magic worthy of that famous shirt number. Thierry Henry's reaction says everything. Speaking of Thierry Henry, the Arsenal legend himself was watching this match and providing analysis for CBS Sports. His reaction to Gyökeres' goal tells you everything you need to know about how the Arsenal community has been feeling about this situation. Henry said, quote, "I think we all felt some kind of a relief when he scored, some type of happiness." End quote. Notice that word. Relief. Even Thierry Henry, a man who scored 175 goals for Arsenal and is considered one of the greatest strikers in Premier League history, felt relief when Gyökeres scored. That shows you how much everyone connected to Arsenal has been desperate to see this player succeed. Henry continued, quote, "I think we were all happy for him with what's been happening to him at the minute." End quote. What has been happening to Gyökeres recently? Well, the article mentions that he has faced negative talk and a tough week of scrutiny. When you are a high-profile signing at a club like Arsenal, every performance gets analyzed. Every missed chance gets discussed. Every game without a goal becomes a talking point. That is the reality of playing for a club with Arsenal's ambitions and global fanbase. But here is the positive news. Gyökeres now has 3 goal contributions in his last 3 matches for the Gunners. That is exactly the situation that every Arsenal fan wanted to unfold. The momentum is building. The confidence is returning. And most importantly, the player is showing signs that he can handle the pressure and deliver when it matters. The healthy competition up front. Thierry Henry also made an interesting point about the competition for places in Arsenal's attack. He celebrated the performance of both Arsenal strikers in this match. Gabriel Jesus scored a brace before Gyökeres was introduced into the game. Henry said, quote, "You know, sometimes when you are at a club and you have the other striker that scores, who's going to score? That's healthy competition." End quote. This is a crucial insight from someone who understands what it takes to succeed at the highest level. Competition for places is not a bad thing. It is actually essential for a team with title ambitions. Gabriel Jesus scoring 2 goals in the first half did not diminish Gyökeres' achievement. Instead, it shows that Arsenal have multiple weapons in attack. And the competition does not stop there. The article mentions that Kai Havertz is back in the picture after returning from injury. So Mikel Arteta now has 3 quality options to choose from in attack. That is a nice problem to have for any manager. The article makes a key point here. Things will only get better for Mikel Arteta's side if Gyökeres builds form. With competition from Jesus and Havertz, the Swedish striker cannot afford to rest on his laurels after one spectacular goal. He needs to keep this momentum going. The Champions League versus Premier League puzzle. Now here is where things get really interesting. The article highlights a fascinating split in Gyökeres' performances this season. He has scored 3 goals in 5 Champions League appearances for Arsenal. His goals have come against Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan. As the article rightly points out, not bad, right? Scoring against 2 of Europe's top clubs is no small achievement. These are high-pressure matches on the biggest stage in club football. Gyökeres has shown that he can perform when the lights are brightest in the Champions League. But here is the challenge. The real test that Arsenal fans are desperate to see him overcome is finding form in the Premier League. The article is very clear about this. Gyökeres has not scored in the league from open play since November 1st. That is a significant drought for a striker who was brought in to provide goals in the title race. This creates an interesting question. Why can Gyökeres score against Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan in the Champions League, but struggle to find the net consistently in the Premier League? Is it a mental block? Is it about adaptation to the pace and physicality of English football? Is it about the different tactical approaches teams use in domestic competition versus European matches? One reader actually made a thought-provoking point in the comments section of the article. They noted that Arsenal are the second highest goal scorers in the Premier League and joint highest goal scorers in the Champions League. So what problem is there to solve? They suggested that perhaps it is a strategy that the forwards are focused more on runs to create space for other players. And looking at the statistics, it seems to be working. This is a valid perspective. Not every goal needs to come from the center forward. Arsenal have threats from all areas of the pitch. Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Martinelli, Declan Rice arriving late into the box. If Gyökeres is creating space with his movement and allowing others to score, then he is still contributing even without goals. But let's be honest. Arsenal did not sign Victor Gyökeres to just create space. They signed him to score goals, especially in tight matches where they need that cutting edge to break down stubborn defenses. So while the team's overall goal output is impressive, Gyökeres still needs to improve his personal returns in the Premier League. The Manchester United test. The article sets up the next challenge perfectly. Arsenal's clash with Manchester United is described as key for Gyökeres. And the timing could not be better. Arsenal's fierce rivals are visiting North London. The atmosphere at the Emirates Stadium will be electric. The pressure will be enormous. But so will the opportunity. What better stage for Gyökeres to prove his doubters wrong than against Manchester United? A goal in this fixture would do wonders for his confidence. It would silence critics. It would endear him further to the Arsenal fanbase. And it would show that he can deliver in the Premier League's biggest matches. But here is where the article shows some realism. It states that quite frankly, a goal would be desired, but it is not particularly necessary. Even just a good performance would be a plus right now. This is important context. The pressure on Gyökeres should not be about scoring in every single match. It should be about contributing to the team, working hard, making the right runs, and gradually building his confidence in the Premier League. If Gyökeres can put in a solid performance against Manchester United, showing good movement, hold-up play, and work rate, that would be progress. The goals will come if he keeps doing the right things. The San Siro strike proved that the quality is there. Now it is about translating that quality consistently in the Premier League. What this all means for Arsenal's season. Let me zoom out and talk about the bigger picture here. Arsenal are in a genuine title race this season. They are competing in the Champions League. They are trying to end their trophy drought in the Premier League. To achieve these ambitions, they need all their key players firing on all cylinders. Victor Gyökeres was brought in as a major piece of that puzzle. When you make a high-profile signing like this, you are investing in someone you believe can make a difference in the biggest moments. The Champions League goal against Inter Milan is a step in the right direction. But Arsenal need Gyökeres to become a consistent threat in the Premier League too. The good news is that the momentum seems to be shifting. 3 goal contributions in 3 matches is a positive trend. The spectacular nature of the Inter Milan goal will have given him a huge confidence boost. And the support from club legend Thierry Henry, along with the visible relief from everyone connected to Arsenal, shows that the entire club is behind this player. Mikel Arteta has shown patience with Gyökeres. He has managed his minutes carefully. He has provided him with opportunities in different competitions. And crucially, he has not panicked and made drastic changes to the lineup. That faith from the manager will be important as Gyökeres continues to adapt to Arsenal and the Premier League. The competition with Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz should push Gyökeres to elevate his game. No one has a guaranteed starting spot. Everyone needs to earn their place through performances in training and matches. That is exactly how elite teams operate. Final thoughts. So Arsenal family, where does this leave us? Victor Gyökeres scored a brilliant goal at San Siro. He showed that he has the quality to produce magical moments. He proved he can perform on the big European stage. And most importantly, He demonstrated that he has the mental strength to respond to criticism and scrutiny. But the journey is far from over. The real test comes in the Premier League. Can he translate his Champions League form into domestic success? Can he score the goals that will help Arsenal win tight matches against teams that sit deep and defend? Can he become the reliable goal scorer that Arsenal need in their title push? The Manchester United fixture is the perfect opportunity to take the next step. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, Gyökeres has a chance to show Arsenal fans that he can be a source of goals in the English top flight at long last. Those are the exact words from the article, and they capture perfectly what everyone is hoping to see. Remember, this is a player who wore the number 14. The same number as Thierry Henry. That takes courage. That takes belief. And based on what we saw at San Siro, Victor Gyökeres has both. The relief was visible when that ball hit the net. From Gyökeres himself, from Thierry Henry watching on television, and from Arsenal fans everywhere. Now it is time to build on that moment. It is time to turn relief into sustained confidence. It is time to turn one spectacular goal into a consistent stream of contributions. Arsenal fans are patient people, but they are also passionate people. They want to see their big signings succeed. They want to see players embrace the history and pressure of wearing the Arsenal shirt. And they want to see goals that help their team win trophies. Victor Gyökeres took a big step forward at San Siro. Now we wait to see what comes next against Manchester United. This is Arsenal Daily Talk, and we will be here to break it all down for you. Thanks for watching, and come on you Gunners!